Good afternoon, Philippines. How are you?
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Great. I would love to be in your country because in Rome it's quite chilly, but anyhow, beautiful as well.
Well, we were just saying it's very nice to have you coming from Rome where everyone else is coming from Switzerland. So congratulations.
Bvlgari watches is really the fusion between the Italian art of design and beauty and the Swiss engineering. So I thought that doing it from Rome on the one hand and Neuchatel on the other hand was quite a good idea just to convey that fusion of two cultures, making and turning it to pretty unusual but beautiful watches.
No, I think it was brilliant. And I think the fact that listening to Fabrizio and Mr. Pin together was just amazing.
Yeah, we are very lucky to have a great designer, not only, but a designer who can really very well explain, the why behind the creativity and the consistency of the creativity with the Bvlgari brand, and that's a chance.
Yes. Congratulations. We have a few questions.
Yeah.
First of all, it has to do with how did you get through? What did you do to handle all of this? You were a brand that was doing very, very well. You've been winning world awards again, and yet all of a sudden this happened. How did you make changes very quickly to keep going?
Well, first, we've won awards even last year. So
Yes.
Despite the COVID, we made some awards. But jokes apart, obviously it was a very challenging year, very unexpected, catching everyone by surprise. Well, the first thing we did was obviously, to temporarily lower our activities level because most stores were closed anywhere between March and June. To keep resources for the year to go, hoping that COVID would recede, which did happen across the summer and through the winter. And in parallel to that, we made a lot of efforts in terms of supply chain to gain into reactivity, agility, and to adapt for very volatile and uncertain demand to avoid ending the year with high inventories, which we did extremely well. And the third point, we decided to advance to 2020 initiatives which were planned rather in 2022. I want to mention the Bvlgari aluminum. This project was just, a project. And we decided that as we had lost part of the first half of the year, we had really to do much more for the second part of the year. So not only keeping financial resources to promote our existing watches, starting by Serpentis Sedutori, which had been launched just the year before, and so which needed, further push, but also to bring exciting news to the clients on the last month of 2020 to try and as much as possible to save 2020. And to do that, we had also, and fourth point, to create new initiatives. That is the only watch fair in Switzerland last year, as Bvlgari led this Geneva Watch Days initiative, which gathered 18 brands end of August. And this was, for us, the opportunity, obviously, to introduce that Bvlgari aluminum collection, but also some of the news, which eventually led Bvlgari watches to close the last quarter positive, which was quite, a big win for all the team as there was no travel retail. The pandemic had restarted late November, early December, obviously putting some constraints on Christmas gifting. Nevertheless, we made really 2 excellent months in November and December, allowing eventually to get at par with the last quarter 19 to the satisfaction, obviously, of everyone. So we finished the year, I would say, on an encouraging note, confirming the potential of Serpentis Sedutori, born in October 19, but interrupted for 6 months because of the COVID. So somehow restarted in October 20. And this will drive us into 2021 with a lot of steam. And at the same time, this confirmed the potential of the Bvlgari aluminum, as after just 4 months, by December, it was out of stock in about 50% of our stores and our retailers. just confirming the appeal, the relevance, and the attractiveness of that brand new design, which was obviously inspired by the then aluminum of the 1990s, which is another obviously strong driver of growth for Bvlgari into 2021, because we had just a few months and not enough product last year. Now, I mean, the manufacturer is really going 120%. And it shows as we are closing January, again, with a positive growth, also single digit, but with a positive growth on watches, which I think very few brands this month will celebrate. So last 3 months have been really driven by those end of 19 and end of 20 novelties. And obviously with the novelties we're introducing now at the LVMH Watch Week, we will further feed and fuel Bvlgari growth, so that 2021 will be a year of very strong recovery with as main goal to par with 2019, which was a very strong year for Bvlgari watches.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. There are some numbers that say that certain watches are doing quite well, but there are also jewelry is helping a lot. Do you find that your connection with jewelry is helping you to survive and grow at a time when some watch companies are not?
Well, obviously, jewelry is a bigger business for Bvlgari than watches, which was not the case, by the way, 20 years ago. In the year 2000, more than 50% of the business was watches. So ever since, I mean, we have tried to really refocus Bvlgari primarily as a high jeweler, also because the more high jeweler we are perceived, the better we sell our watches, especially to ladies. So the success of watches somehow is driven by the sharpness and the desirability of the high jeweler message, which comes first. This has not really protected or helped the watches throughout 2020 because basically when the stores were closed, they were closed for all categories. When travel retail stopped, it stopped for watches and jewelry alike. So if I look at the end of the year, basically we had similar positive trend on jewelry and watches. And if I look at January, because of the Chinese New Year phasing in February this year, we are doing better with watches because watches are less Chinese dependent than jewelry, which is a bit more Chinese dependent. So this month we're gonna close better with watches and a little bit negative with jewelry. Whereas in February, because of the Chinese New Year, it will be exactly the opposite because Chinese are buying more Bvlgari jewelry relatively than they are buying Bvlgari watches. And obviously for Bvlgari watches, the further conquest of the Chinese market is a key priority. As we are today under our fair share in that big market. And with Sedutory, with Lucia, we're introducing those days. And aluminum, I'm pretty sure that in China this year will be one of the winners when it comes to growth and market share gain.
Okay, thank you. What did you personally think would happen with the Octa Finissimo? Because it's a watch that has managed to actually attract the attention of hardcore watch collectors who normally would not be looking at Bvlgari. They would be looking at some of the high horlogerie brands, and yet it's successful with that group of buyers. Did you see that coming in, or did you think it would happen?
Well, actually, you have vision, you have dreams, you have some ambition, but until it's on the market for a few years, it's difficult. I mean, to understand whether it will turn into a success or whether it will be a flop, like 90% of the watch novelties, which you can discover every year in Basel or Geneva, including some of ours. It's not at all, I mean, a critical conclusion, but we know that very few eventually make it to glory. And that's why, I mean, with Finissimo, we had that very, very step-wise approach, starting to position it a bit like a supercar. So extreme, not only because ultra thin, but also because of the titanium. I would say the 360 titanium, providing with a look which by itself was a very strong signature and statement, extremely avant-garde. And this has created, obviously, over the years, not only 6 world records, but a legitimacy, a knowledge to Bvlgari of not only being a great jeweler and a great ladies' watch maker, but also a serious contender when it comes to the ultimate Swiss engineering and micromechanics. But it was a supercar, and as we all know, supercars are not necessarily meant to be driven every day. At least it's the insight of supercar collectors, even though now supercars can be driven today, every day, but in their mind, because they are extreme, they drive them a bit more occasionally. And titanium finissimo was indeed rather a secondary or third watch rather than the main watch. And the second step has started last year and continues today with steel chronograph. Once established the supercar legitimacy, performances, and glory, to get into the GT car market, which is obviously a much bigger market, with some codes which are mandatory. And I think the key code of the GT car market into watches is brush and polish steel. The world leader is primarily a sports watch brand, which has primarily either gold watches or steel watches. And the core of the market, anywhere between 10,000 to 25,000 euro, dollars, whatever, is made of sports watches, steel watches, most of them, if you think about the brands. And therefore, we decided to evolve Finissimo last year, going to 100 meters waterproofness, a screw crown, with the Octo Watch 100S, with that steel polished and brushed. Big success, because it was immediately understood as a daily watch, a sturdy watch, a versatile watch, and really a sports watch. And building on that success, we decided to very quickly design the same for the chronograph. The chronograph had been launched, well, it's celebrating 2 years in April. It has won already many awards. But for the same reason as a watch, it was a supercar. Again, in titanium, with that feeling, wrong, but feelings eventually are right, if they are feelings, that because it was ultra-light, because it was ultra-thin, perhaps it was occasional as well. So we redesigned it. We kept, obviously, the world record as the thinnest ever steel chronograph. It's a bit thicker than the titanium. For the same reason as a watch, I mean, we wanted it to be 100 meters waterproof, to be a true sports chronograph. And we decided also to make the message very clear and loud, to have a beautiful blue dial, blue being immediately associated with, obviously, an aquatic environment and therefore sports as well. This redesign has led, I would say, to a better aesthetical balance, to my taste at least, between the diameter and the thickness. So it's still ultra thin, but it looks a bit stronger than the titanium version. And this is born from a functional requirement, the waterproofness. But on the other hand, I think people feel it as really something sturdy, something daily, which they can really use as their main watch. And for that reason, I believe that together with the watch launched last year, we have now with Octo Finissimo a mainstream watch and chronograph, and not any longer a marginal. Also because if you look at the different materials on the Swiss watch exports, titanium represents perhaps 1.5% of exports. Steel is representing in value 45% and in volume 70%. So for the first time, we are really addressing the core of the market at a price anywhere between 12,000 for the watch and 15,000 for the chronograph, which in that league, I would say, are pretty competitive price when you think that it's a real manufacturer masterpiece.
Yes.
Everything is homemade. As you know, we do our cases, our dials, our movements internally, with obviously this unique contemporary look, making it totally unique in its category. So that's the only elegant sports watch or sports chronograph, if I may say so.
Okay, thank you. One of the things about doing these meetings in Zoom is I can't see what watch you're wearing. So what are you wearing now, sir?
Well,
and why are you wearing it?
I'm wearing the supercar, and the supercar is evolving this year. It was born with an old titanium case, dial, and bracelet. And we have developed, I mean, a more sporty version with a black dial and black strap. It provides, I would say, quite a different feeling, also in terms of ergonomy. And this is the second titanium option for people who want to buy the titanium. So you have either the full titanium, which we launched 2 years ago, and you have titanium with black dial and black strap, which we're introducing now, which is also broadening the titanium franchise. As even if it's a niche that with titanium bracelet only and dial, we do not totally leverage. Adding that reference, obviously, will allow us to much better leverage and harvest that niche. It's a great chronograph, but here you can compare. Indeed, it's interesting. The thickness of the case bands, and here you see that the steel is marginally thicker, and this is why personally, to my taste, I feel better, because I'm obsessed of the diameter thickness relationship. To me, this is really the mother of beauty, and I think that on the steel version, we are close to the maximum we can imagine and dream. However, I'm wearing the titanium those days.
Technical question: can you take the strap, the new caoutchouc strap, and put it on the all full bracelet watch?
Yeah.
You can.
It's compatible. Okay. Yeah. Well, currently, the steel is proposed only with a steel bracelet, because again, we want to be very clear on what it stands for. It's a sports chronograph. So obviously, to be a sports chronograph, it needs to be in steel, a bracelet included, as sports watches are meant to go under the water, under the shower, and therefore most often come with a steel bracelet.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope you guys have a great.
Well, you still have a couple of minutes if you want.
I do? Okay, I thought I was told spot on. Okay.
No, I have the countdown in front of me, so I can.
Oh, okay, then fine. Sorry, I was going by. Okay. How important is the GPHG for you? You've been winning it 5 years in a row for your class.
I would say first, internally, it's a very strong source of pride and motivation, because Bvlgari is somehow, even though it's 102 years that we are crafting watches, we really started into the mainstream market only 35 years ago with Bvlgari. So before we were crafting only jewelry watches, so we were really in the very high end and in the female market only. We still do more than ever. I mean, with the Serpenti, Spiga, and with Diva, we have developed this year more than ever. We want to lead the jewelry watches market. But as I would say, a mainstream watchmaker for daily watches, we just started 45 years ago. And obviously, we had to catch up in terms of credibility, of legitimacy. And those Grand Prix have really generated a huge internal pride and motivation. Because our people, obviously, after years of efforts, were being frustrated to always hear or read that, Bvlgari watches are not really watches because it's a jeweler, blah, blah, blah. And now I think we are knowledge, and those Grand Prix do participate to this understanding as a real, serious Swiss watchmaker. Then in parallel, obviously, for our retailers, this is clear an argument. I mean, when they propose an Octo Finissimo, for sure, I mean, the main driver is the beauty of the timepiece, the feeling of the clients to wear such an elegant timepiece on the wrist. But obviously, the fact to know that it's a world record adds to the emotion because people like to pioneer and like to have pieces which have written some pages of watchmaking. And clearly, Finissimo, with 56 awards since start, is one of those timepieces which has written the first page of the 21st century watchmaking.
Yes. Thank you. What do you expect to happen the rest of this year? Are you moving more towards your online sales or the shops rather than the travel sales? I mean, do you expect travel sales to move at all?
Well, you know, it's difficult to predict. Rationally, with the buildup of vaccination, availability and supply, obviously the virus should recede. I was watching yesterday TV on what is happening in Israel, where since they started vaccination, contamination has dropped by 60%, so it's a huge drop. Obviously, in Israel, 1/3 of people are already vaccinated, which is unique in the world, but on the other hand, it shows and proves that once this will happen in Europe, in the Western world, in Asia, probably the virus will disappear or, let's say, be cornered to something very, very limited and restricted, and this probably will happen by the summer. Until the summer, we don't expect much travel retail, also because besides the fear of the COVID, most airlines are not planning any resuming of operation on a global scale. If you look, I mean, if you want to fly those days, it's very difficult. And a lot of states will wait a while before lifting their restriction to entering their country. And all those factors put together, obviously, will make the first half primarily domestic in terms of sales. And then on the second half, we can obviously hope that besides a strong demand locally, we'll start to see tourism again, and it will add further growth. Said that, I'm pretty positive already on first half, just because as last year people couldn't spend on holidays, couldn't spend on entertainment, all banks are confirming it, and the stock exchange is the evidence. There is a lot of money, and people, you know, after 1 year of restriction of their freedom, are just striving for enjoying life again, but a great and substantial life that is surely ready to spend a lot of money. We've seen that in our hotels with Dom Pérignon. We are seeing that in high jewelry or iron watches. As long as what the brand proposes is very authentic, is real craftsmanship, is really qualitative, and last but not least, is sold by companies which are felt as generous and good citizens, which is what Bvlgari is since decades. I mean, our corporate social responsibility didn't start with the COVID and the efforts we did with the sanitizing gels or financing research for vaccination. I mean, it's 12 years now that we're supporting Save the Children for better education. And last week, we surpassed the $100 million mark in terms of cumulative donation, which I think in the luxury industry is something unrivaled and unheard of. And in parallel, we are continuing also our efforts in the field of arts, as one of the major patron of arts of the city of Rome, from the most antique arts, Largo Argentina from the 4th century BC, where Julius Caesar was assassinated 4 centuries later, to the Maxi Bvlgari Prize, which is all about contemporary art. So arts, education and health, more than ever, are important to Bvlgari and contribute not only to be a great jeweler and watchmaker, but to be considered by clients also as a good company. And I think that dimension will become more and more important for luxury in the future.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. We were just talking about the book you guys launched in November, and it's hugely interesting. It's like a great old time travel book.
Really? Yeah.
So,
You like it?
yeah, I did very much. It makes you. It's one of the things that makes me want to go out and travel again, actually.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of okay staying at home for a while. So.
But soon we're gonna travel again.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so.
Okay. So I thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much.
Wishing
I hope
you-
you stay safe and stay well.
Well, you know, I'm traveling myself, not so far, but in Europe, and yeah, I have to make tests all the times.
Yeah.
But and I'm also traveling privately. In 2 weeks, I go to Egypt for diving, which I did already twice in the last 3 months. So nothing will stop me. I mean, to travel because I need to travel. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
Wishing you the best.
All the best to you too. Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Yeah.